We back. We
We are
back.
back.
Season 8.
Season 8. Like, I still can't believe I have done 176 shows. Like, I just keep going. Even when I was just talking into the Blues, which was myself. So, welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. It is season 8, like Twin said. We are here. We are back. And definitely some new topics. And we're going to push the needle a little bit this season. I really want people to dig deep within themselves and dig deep within others, right? To find out if you're going to talk relationships, like let's start digging deep. But before we get into this week's topic, which might be a little controversial for some, but this show called F Your Feelings. Twins, how was your week, man?
This week has been pretty good. It's a short week because tomorrow is July 4th. Not
Yes, yes.
not that I really celebrate all like that because Juneteenth was a couple weeks ago, but I'm gonna enjoy my day off. I'm gonna enjoy the day off and get paid.
Enjoy that.
So
Enjoy that.
having a little adult get together here. I'll be on the grill early in the morning.
Oh,
Chill. Got the kids, they in their room chilling. They ate, they good. So, life is good up here.
I
No
love that for you. I love that. Well, happy holidays. I won't care. We actually had our version of Independence Day on Tuesday. So this week was a short week, work week for my office. I actually will only be working 2.5 days this week. Monday, our office was closed. I mean, I was off anyways because of my surgery, but the office was closed Monday. Tuesday was Canada Day. I went back yesterday. I worked today, and we have half a day Fridays in the summer. So
nice.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't complain. Every for about 2.5 months, we have half a day Fridays, which is nice. It's early enough so you get off. You can go downtown, get some happy hours in. Happy hours here start somewhere between 2 and 3. Get some happy hours in and go do a couple of stuff and get back home by 8 or 9. Because that's where I am in life. Like you try to tell me like you want to do something at 9 p.m. I'm like, at night? Like at p.m.? Like not I'll do something I'll hike at 9 a.m. I'd rather you say let's go hike at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. than say, hey, look, we have dinner reservations at 9. Man, I need to take a nap for that. But I digress. I am so blessed. We are back. I will say because Twins is my accountability partner, and so are all of you. I told you I went on the scale before my surgery and after my surgery, and I felt like I was a heifer. I'm going to say this is me, so I can talk about myself that way. Do not get offended, people. We're not sensitive people over here. But I weighed a lot more than I wanted to weigh. And so I have started my journey. I've got my new fitness tracker. I'm tracking my food in my fitness pal. I've gone pescatarian, which means I've cut out meat, only fish. I did join the gym. I've only gone once. I won't even lie. I only went once. However, I have logged over the last 3 days since July 1st, because that was the beginning of my health journey. I've probably logged an average of 18,000 steps. One day I did like 22,000. I sent it to twins. I think yesterday I did closer to 15 or 16. Today I did 10. So it's not bad, right? I'm doing. I walk to the gym, and my walk is downhill, and then I do the gym, and then I walk back from the gym, which is and it's uphill. So even in my walks to the gym, like I'm working out. So listen, a new body's about to be unlocked, and I'm gonna have no behavior. I mean, I already have no behavior with the body I do have, but the new body unlocked, I have no behavior in all of the best
I got you.
ways. Okay, I'm gonna find somebody's grandpappy. I want somebody's son. I'm old now, but somebody's grandpa or divorced dad. I'm all about it. Send your divorced dad this way. We have no name. Anyhow, this episode, it's coming with a disclaimer. If you are unable to separate logic from emotion, this might not be the show for you. Because what I am going to be talking about might be a very sensitive topic, and so it might trigger some people. And as much as we want you to come and watch the show, I don't want people to be triggered by this conversation because um, part of this is going to be very polarizing. So let me start. Over the last 6 weeks, if you have been following the media at all, you know that Sean P. Diddy Combs was on trial. And he was on trial for RICO, which was more racketeering, um, sex trafficking, and distribution. He had 5 charges. And over the period of 6 weeks, we heard many testimonies. Um, Two from his alleged victims, one which was Cassie, and the other victim that they called Jane. I mean, I wasn't at the trial, so I can say it's Jane was Daphne Joy, who was 50 Cent's baby mama, and then you had some other people. There was a couple of ex-assistants and so forth and so on that talked about Diddy and this enterprise. Now, what I am going to say is this: two things can be right. Two things can be right. You may agree that Diddy is a bad person. That part. You may think Diddy is a good person who's done bad things. But you can also say, whichever side you're on in this, he's either a good person, who's done bad things, or just a bad person who's done bad things. So you can be on that side. But based on the results of the trial, I think you can also say that the prosecution did not prove enough for him to be charged with sex trafficking and prostituting his girlfriends, who were once again Cassie and Daphne Joy. For those of you who do not know, he was with Cassie for 11 years before she married her husband, who happened to be her trainer, who Diddy paid for.
Nice.
Um, right, who Diddy paid for. And Daphne Joy still technically believes she's in a relationship with Diddy, and Diddy still pays her bills. He's still giving her a $10,000 month allowance, despite him having been in jail, I think, since September. And these women went on the stand and accused Diddy of some heinous things, particularly Cassie. I think if you saw the video, you knew that, he did a horrible thing to her. What I would like to say is Diddy was not on trial for domestic violence. Diddy was not on trial for abusing the women in his life. He was on trial for what they would consider, again, sex trafficking, which means that every time he took his girlfriend from one state, let me just be clear, his girlfriend from one state to another to have intercourse with them and the male prostitutas that he would have them have sex with, they consider that coercion and trafficking and all of those things. And I think most of us find that concept ridiculous. I think most of us can agree if that is what you are considering sex trafficking, they failed. I think there's a lot of people who are emotional, and I've said a lot of horrible things about the jury. I was in a chat and people are saying this jury's awful and they're slow and they're whatever. No, they're not. They were people who evaluated the evidence that they were giving against the crime that it was and made a decision. We don't have to agree about the decision, but that's the decision they came to. Now, the reason I brought all of this up is because I believe that there is something called the Diddy effect. At least that's what I'm calling it. And so this is why I titled the show "When the Bag is Bigger Than the Boundary." I'm going to pause there. I see somebody might be backstage. Oh, Jeff is backstage. Jeff, I'm going to add you to this conversation. I love that you're here. Jeff, are you with us?
I'm here. What's up? What's up?
What's up? Thank
That's
you. I am so happy you're here because as someone who counsels couples, men and women, I am glad that you're going to be part of this conversation. Like I said, I'm going to keep this conversation as emotionless as possible and really talk about the logic of what the situation is with Diddy. But I'd love to get before we get into that, I'd love to get your thoughts. Have you been following the case, and what were your thoughts about the case?
I followed it just a little bit, but not obsessively. You know, that nature. Just it wasn't like a thing that I had to see like what was going on every day. But um, going back to something you said a few minutes earlier, he wasn't on trial per se for certain things that they were charging him with. But I like the way you call it the Diddy effect. Even though all these heinous things that he wasn't charged with or was charged with, it's like my thought was after I heard the verdict, it's like, okay, now what? You know, his business acumen, even though he wasn't charged with certain things, but the other stuff that was allowed to be said and stated about him or his attitude, the way he conduct business and all this, like it's out there now. You can't unhear those things, you can't unsee it. So it's like, how does he move forward now? That's what I was thinking, like, because it's all out there. Like when you see on TV, well, um, a witness might say something and the judge would be like, jurors dismiss that,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
you can't unhear with everything or unsee what's already been put out there. So it's like I'm just trying to see like how does he move forward now? Like what does life after this trial look like for Diddy?
It his reputation has taken a serious decline on some level. But I do think that there are people who are still going to support Diddy, who are going to separate the man from the mogul, right? The man has done awful things, but the mogul has built careers and businesses, right? Like, I think there is that separation that's going to happen. The issue is because of the society that we live in, that everybody is very emotional about this, very charged up. I question whether people will be able to do business with him because of their concern about the impact on their reputation by
Right.
doing business with Diddy, right? But I think one of the things for me that really came out, and this is where I'm going to be honest. As a woman, I struggle a lot with our definition of sisterhood in this new generation. Um, I believe in choice. I believe we all have a choice. I don't care what background you are, I don't care what your education level. I think choice is a big thing, and free will is a big thing. And I think for me, and I talked about this on the show before, I'm not empathetic, but I am sympathetic. And because I find myself to be a more logical person, I study psychology, I study the human mind, right? Like I'm in business, I have to always consider things from a logical standpoint. I had a very hard time, especially with Daphne Joy, aka Jane. I had a very hard time sympathizing and empathizing with an individual who consistently made a choice to be with someone because there was a financial benefit to that relationship, despite the fact that there were clear boundaries. As a woman, there are clear boundaries that are being overstepped the first time your boyfriend says to you, I want to sit across the room and watch you have relations with a sex worker, and I'm going to videotape it. And you are to have relations with that sex worker without protection. and you say yes. Go on, Twins.
Now go ahead. You're cooking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right? You say yes. Like you say yes. Yes, Diddy, I will do this. And then you turn around as a grown adult woman and call yourself a victim. In my personal opinion, you're a victim of poor choices. But to deem her a victim, I thought was an insult to real victims of sex trafficking and of rape, of which Cassie also accused him, which was also incorrect. He didn't do that. So I think that how we keep moving the goalpost to justify something we do not agree with. And the fact that the government did that is disturbing. And I think that is what led to the verdict that we had yesterday. Because when they were asking, so I was a person who followed it every day. I watched a particular attorney Simone Redwine. She's a show called Girl Is That Legal, and she followed it every day. She went to court. Sometimes she wouldn't be in court. She'd read transcripts. She would pull things like I was getting really good information. And when the jury was asking questions, so for instance, they were trying to say that distribution is this. If you ask me for drugs, so you say, hey, Toshiba, I want a Molly pill. And 2 times I give you something that you asked for. That is distribution. That is what the government of the federal government was telling that jury was distribution, which I think people need to understand that had Diddy been found guilty of that crime, that becomes a precedent. I really needed to pause on that. This is when I'm talking about logic over emotion. That definition was bigger than Diddy. That was a bigger definition than Diddy. Had that jury found that was sufficient to be considered distribution, any of us could be on trial any day of the week now for that thing. We are now distributors of drugs because you give your girlfriend to pop a pill to have a good night and she asked you for it twice. That would have set a precedent. That is not good for the United. I'm not even an American citizen. I'm gonna tell you that's not good for the country. Again, this was bigger than Diddy, and I think this is what people have to understand. Yes, Diddy was on trial because Diddy's a bad guy. Diddy's not a nice guy. People could have told you that 23rd. Hello, look what he did to Shine. Like this is not a secret. Anybody in the industry and out of the industry knew that Diddy wasn't a good guy. But I don't care if he's good or bad. Did he commit the crime that he was accused of? And that jury decided no, he hadn't. So again, I think going back to what I was saying about the women, I think I find it very difficult with how we will redefine behavior to suit a narrative of a story that we want to tell people. Sorry, I've now ranted. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jeff and Twins, about this.
So, because you said a lot there.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
So, you want my take on like the whole thing, or what?
I'd love to hear your take.
I mean, so just kind of piggyback most of the things that you said. Yes, is Puff, Sean Combs, Diddy, wherever you want to call him a bad guy. Yes, he is. And as you stated, and everyone else stated, you have to prove that he is the bad guy, right? We all can go to, be accused of something, but you have to prove that we did it, right? And I think overall, what hurt the government or whoever's trying to get at Diddy is Cassie's testimony, right? They thought they had some when she released her document where she got paid the $30 million. So it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna be a key witness. Cool, that was cool. Like when that came out, like, all right, it's life information there. We all like, eyes, damn, Puff in trouble. Then the video came out. Oh yeah, he done, right? But then when she got on stage, or I'm sorry, this wasn't a concert. When she got on the court stand and she started saying a lot of stuff out her mouth and asking her question, I'm like, you're really not the victim here. Like, you're just as guilty as he is. You were the one who orchestrated a lot of these FOs. What time is it? Okay, freak offs. We're good now. We're past that time frame. You set a lot of those freak offs off, right? A lot of things you did, it had me question, like, ew. I mean, anyway, long story short. So don't. See, here's the problem, because I think we're gonna get into it anyway. What I've learned with the whole Diddy case is that when you have money, females will do anything. That's what I learned overall. Moral of the story is, if you have money, they will do anything. They will. I mean, pretty much anything. If they want a certain lifestyle, they want to be rich, they want this money, they don't have the opportunity to do X, Y, Z. If you have the money, fellas, they'll do anything. So the moral story is, don't chase the woman, chase the bag. Because once you get the bag, you get the woman. And once you get the woman, you can do whatever you want because they want your money. And this is something we all know as men, that we know that y'all want our money. But the more money you have, the more stuff you can get away with. Yeah. That's all I really have there.
Jeff, any thoughts?
Yeah, kind of going back to what basically a lot of what you said in the beginning, but it came down to me like a whole bunch of semantics. Yes, Diddy has the money, the pool, and the high powered lawyers to fight this, and despite all the disgusting things that came out, what we heard, what was seen, like I said, it's kind of hard to see Cassie as a victim. Um, I can say even the text, she was initiating a lot of these. I think he might have been out of the country at one point, and she was like, "Hey, I'm ready for the next one." Da 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 da, and like, he wasn't even in the country. And so, but I heard a few months ago that it was something. A book was supposed to be published,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think this what kind of led to the domino effect of what we ended up with today. I think even before the video came out. I think she
Correct.
approached him, was like, "Hey, I'm about to put this book out," and he kind of like, I'm assuming he kind of like brushed it off, yeah, whatever. Then automatically this video appears. Oh my goodness, look what Diddy did to this guy. Oh, this victim. Oh my, and so, but then like I said, that's the lawyer's job to play with the jurors' minds, and trying to break it down. Like you said, like if you thought about distribution, you'll think somebody with the bricks but no, all it takes is two transactions, and that's considered that. So I think, and like say in the court of law, you have to prove beyond, reasonable doubt. So I guess that's how the lawyers broke it down to the jurors. And so if you have to look at it exactly like you just explained, like they explained, so you have to kind of come up with those results. It's wild. Yeah.
The only thing I'm kind of disappointed about the whole court case is that they took names out of the documents. You know what I'm saying? I want to know
Right.
the names of all the celebrities who've been to these freak
Right.
offs. That was my whole thing. I was like, that's all I really want to know. I want to know who was there. That's all I
Right.
want to know. Nothing else really.
Here was the problem that happened with it. So Tony Busby and Tyrone Blackburn, those are the two lawyers that came out with the supposed victims, and you know what, alleged. That's the word I'll use. The alleged victims. We were talking about children and underage people, like all of this just ridiculous things. None of that happened. So let's just be very clear. I'm going to go on the record and say none of that happened. Because if it had, the federal government would have uncovered every single child or underage person or the slew of supposed men that he had drugged and assaulted and paraded them in front of the people in order to actually talk about that. Because even if people were involved, they were getting immunity on the spot. There
Facts.
were several people who got immunity, like on the spot. They'd say, "Hey, twins, you got a subpoena to be here. Yep. Do you plan to testify? I plan to plead the fifth. Okay, we're going to give you immunity." Right like that. And they'd say, "Yep, the immunity agreement came out, they signed it, they went that down, did whatever, and then called them back to the stand." This was happening live in the court in real time. So this salacious story of Diddy, this awful tyrant, and all of these celebrities that were on all of these things, if the federal government had a stronger case, they would have put on a stronger case. They had a weak case because they had weak evidence. There were several people who were supposed to be victims. One of them apparently just didn't show up, which was Mia, his ex girlfriend he was with for years. She's just walking around in Vegas, I think, the other day, like she just was like, "I'm not going to show up." She didn't show up. So all of these, it was Daphne, Joy, and Cassie. Okay, Cassie was supposed to be the big bombshell. And again, if he was on trial for that awful, severe beating he gave Cassie in 2016, this would have been a slam dunk. But to call, you know what my issue, I think, and this is why I'm saying taking the emotion out of this, there are real women who are impacted by sex trafficking. There are little girls and grown women being snatched off the street. They are people who are being brought to your country and mine under false pretenses and having their passports snatched from them, putting them in brothels and putting them in strip clubs and putting them on what Backpage or OnlyFans or whatever is going on, who are actually forced to perform these acts unwillingly on men who are force fed drugs, not by choice, but are doing so. So to put these two women in the same category as those women, for me, muddled the waters. Did he do bad things to them? Yes. Would I have ever put myself in a position to have that done to me? Money or no money? No. And this is why I say for some women, the bag is bigger than the boundaries. Diddy would have not gotten away with any of this if he was Diddy the sanitation worker.
That's a fact. That is a fact. If Diddy was the Wayne, y'all wouldn't do half the things that was said.
Let's be logical. I am not a fan of the man that was displayed and did awful things. I am the mother of a 23-year-old, and Kathy was very young when she got with that man. But as the mother of a 23-year-old, I will tell you my daughter has free will and she makes choices. And she makes choices understanding that because I brought her up this way, every choice has a consequence. When you go through one door and don't go through the other, there's a consequence to that. And the door you go through, there's a consequence for that. Every choice we make in life has a domino effect. I'm done with Mr. Mr. Has a domino effect. And so when you are looking at me and telling me that grown people, even let's move it even from Cassie and Daphne Joy for a second. There were two other women on the stand, and again, I followed this case very, very closely. So there was a young lady named Mia. That's not her real name, but that's the name that they gave her. She was one of Diddy's former assistants, and she claimed that Diddy essayed her, and she also claimed that Diddy forced her to participate and take the drugs in order to keep working and being at his second call and always being there for him. So there's Mia. There's also Capricorn Clark, who claims that she was kidnapped by Diddy. She was brought to a warehouse for 5 days straight because Diddy thought that she had taken some jewelry or money from him, had stolen it. And for 5 days, some big burly guy that Diddy ordered to do this came to her house every day, picked her up, took her to some warehouse, gave her a lie detector test for hours. They then brought her home. They did this for 5 days straight. She then proceeded to say, and then she went back to work on that Monday. Now, I get that the job market is difficult. I get that when you're used to a certain lifestyle, okay, that you want to maintain that lifestyle. But no logical or reasonable person is going to once say, hey, an employee who willingly takes drugs that their boss gives them, drugs that their boss gives them, and SAs that person isn't going to do something about it. Now, they might say Diddy is really corrupt and he's because they tried to say he paid off the police, and he might have for things to disappear. He just might have. But it doesn't mean that you can't leave that industry because they said on the stand, I wouldn't be able to get a job. I couldn't leave Bad Boy Records because Diddy owned the industry. And if I tried to go to Def Jam or I tried to go to Arista or wherever else, Diddy would just make a phone call and I wouldn't get that job. Is the entertainment and media the only sector of jobs? There's finance, there's technology, there's hospitality, there's all of these other industries you could have gone in if you were under all of this duress and you work for this really bad man who was doing really, really, he kidnapped you. He had saved you. He was force feeding you drugs. He was doing all of this. I'm sorry, as a logical person, I just cannot wrap my mind around the fact that this man had that much power that you did not or could not say no. It wasn't that he had power, it was because you wanted to be power adjacent.
Facts.
There's a huge difference. And so you, as a person, were willing to disregard boundaries for a check.
I
That's
totally
not a
agree.
crime. That's not a crime. That is not a crime that the government should have spent over $20 million to convict him. Trying to trying to make Diddy pay for all of his past wrongs is what it boiled down to. This is what this case boiled down to. He's a bad guy, and we're going to figure out how to get him. But I think we need to stop. And this is the last thing I'm going to say before I give it back to you guys. I also think it was an insult for women. I'm speaking to because I heard a lot of this from women who tried to say that Cassie had Stockholm syndrome. And I was very mad. As a person with a psychology degree, am very sensitive to people putting labels on people and things that do not belong. And for those of you who do not know what Stockholm Syndrome is, I'm going to simplify it. So I become so somebody kidnaps me, which means takes me against my will. They lock me up. They capture me. I am kept with them for months or years, and it's generally years. And when I am finally free of being a captive, I sympathize with my capture because for the last 3, 5 years, however, it's gone as long as 10, 20 years, this is the only person I have seen. So I've become emotionally attached to this person. And so when they are finally caught, I am sympathizing with my captor. That is Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is not applied to women who willingly entered and stayed in a relationship for financial gain. And it is an insult to women who have had to endure that type of trauma unwillingly. They did not choose this. This was not a choice they made to become a captive. So to put again those labels on Cassie, a grown woman who consistently made a choice to go back to a man who she said was her abuser, I'm sorry, I can't rock with that. Gentlemen. I'm
Good.
done. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, that was a lot.
It's
But
definitely a lot.
yeah, it is a lot to unpack. I think Toshiba that I get what you're saying about the real definition of the syndrome, but I think that was kind of like because people were like, well, how could they go back to this? I guess they was using that as an example to kind of like break it down to like that situation because I've seen and known people that have been in abusive situations and they fight to get out of it, and then you try to help a person out, and it's like they end up going back to that person like they can't get away from. So I've seen that, and yeah, you can't. Like I said again, you can't label yourself as a victim because I can bet neither one of you on this panel can name a Cassie song. Mike, exactly, exactly. So,
Besides our
so
one hit song, I can't think of the song though.
I
exactly,
know the song in my head. I have no idea what it's called. Been waiting so long for
Yeah,
you. Yeah, that's it. But I don't know what it's called.
right?
yeah.
Which proves my point. So, and to go back to what you were saying to Sheba about like you don't see how a person can go. Imagine you going to the family cookout or you at the reunion and like, girl, my cousin, she worked for Diddy. The aesthetics of that, like the clout that I get, like, hey, such and such works for Puffy, and but they don't know what your cousin going through to attain that job. And I was listening to Joe Budden about a month ago, and he broke it down. It made so much sense when he said it, and he said what I just said, like name a Cassie song. When's the last time she had a hit? So she engaged in this relationship. He promised her this record deal and X, Y, and Z. Another album, another song never came out. But guess what? I get to live the same lifestyle as the artist that he has, live in the house, the money. Why would I need to put out an album? So
This
yeah.
this is this is what happens when you don't have your own drive. This is what I'm saying. This is what happens
True.
when you get too comfortable and you don't want, you're so dependable on one person. You don't want to do nothing for yourself. It's the how I look at it is lazy. She had one song. Yes, she signed a
Wow.
10 album deal, which is aka
10 album deal.
which is a slave deal because no one
Okay.
drops 10 albums. I think
Ever.
I think the only person that dropped a 10 album and completed his 10 album was L Cool J. And you know how long that took to happen. Okay, so I've heard no one else do a 10 album deal and complete it. And he was dropping hits all year, like every year, every other year. She had one album or one song, and that was it.
One song.
So yeah. So with that being said, it's she didn't, we actually retired this word because we're in season 8 now, but she definitely lacked accountability. Okay. And like I was saying, it's the fact that, hey man, who want to eat steak every day and go back to hamburger helper?
You don't.
So I understand it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lifestyle. But yeah, I don't know. She's not a victim. She's guilty as well. I feel that she should be in jail as well. Because what is the example you're putting out there for young women out there? You can be involved in something and claim that you was this and you was that, get paid $30 million, then cheat on Diddy because she was with him, with the person that he paid for to help her keep her body together, right? It
Right.
just it's messy. Like there's nothing innocent about her. Nothing at all. I don't feel nothing bad about her. Everybody, I remember everybody saying, "Oh, she's only 18 or she's only 21." You're an adult. I don't care what it is. She was 18 years old. You're an adult. You're old enough to get hit by a car. You're old, no. Anyway, what I'm trying to make is she wasn't a child. She knew what she was doing. She's lazy, and this is the outcome of it.
And there are a lot of people, if they watch this back or watching this right now, that might be triggered by that. But I'm gonna again go back to the logic. Based on the government's definition of what they were charging Diddy with, yes, Kathy is guilty of that as well because she orchestrated some of the freak offs. She engaged. She was also hiring the prostitutas to come and do what they did with her. So, based on the government's own definition, Jane, aka Daphne Joy, and Cassie are not victims. They're actually also, they should have been co conspirators or whatever with him because, based on the government's own definition, this is what I'm saying where I say I want people to use logic and not emotion. I'm just going off the government's definition. I am not a Diddy supporter. I'm not a free Diddy. I'm not any of that. But I am a logical person who likes to look at facts and evaluate facts to determine the outcomes based on those facts. And based on what the attorney, the prosecutors put out, there were a lot of people on that stand who were testifying against Diddy that based on their definition of the things they accused Diddy of should have been sitting right there beside him.
I agree.
That's the problem. And again, I'm going to reiterate. Is Diddy a bad guy? They proved that. They proved he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy who does bad things with his girlfriends or female companions, to his employees, to whatever. But did those bad things he did equate to racketeering, RICO, sex distribution, sex trafficking, everything else? No, essentially what Diddy got convicted of is prostitution. This is they put on the most extensive trial for prostitution in the history of trials because that's what the jury came back and said. We don't believe these women are victims. He definitely did not commit RICO, but we got him on the prostitution. He did take these women across state lines in order to engage in sexual relations with prostitutes.
Facts. That's
What?
basically what it boiled down to.
like, like what? That's not. Here's the thing. That's not okay. I do not care what people say. It is not okay to circumvent facts to fit a narrative. It is. I don't care what anybody tells me. Emotions aside, because if they can do it to Diddy, they can do it to you. Here's what you think about Diddy. Move Diddy out of it. If the government can circumvent facts to suit a narrative about someone because they're a bad person, and I think we've all agreed here, Diddy's a bad person. We all agree. Bad person who's done really bad things. But he did not, according to the jury, at least do three of those bad things. And they have ruined his reputation. I mean, you know what? I'm going to take it back. Did he ruin his own reputation by doing this? But they put his bad deeds on an international platform for what? To basically get the man on prostitution and to expose the hypocrisy. Because I think as women, let's not be hypocrites, ladies. Okay? Because some of those same women who are talking about Diddy's this and Diddy's that are the same women taking $50,000 to go to Dubai and get shitted on in their mouth.
Wow.
I'm online. You should see, go in the comment section of some of this foolishness, and you see where women are talking about where can I sign up for this? Where women go on, and I'm like, do I live in this world? Like, bring the androids at this point and just start over, because I cannot believe I live in a world where women come online and talk about doing that, and other women are like, yeah, sis, nah, sis, you keep that to yourself. Like, you take that to your grave. You do not come on our social medias, on Blue Ivy's innocent internet, and do that. And these same women are applauding it. The same women applaud it, rich nigga this and that's my type. That's my type. That's six figure, seven figure, all of this, and say all this. How they, but then they turn around and say, "Oh my God." But Daphne Joy is a victim, and Diddy was giving her a $10,000 allowance, and in order to do that, she had to have sexual relations with all these men, and he forced her, and Diddy's such a bad guy. The logic doesn't compute to me. Let's just be honest and say people make choices to benefit themselves by being adjacent to one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry. And not only to be adjacent to the most powerful men, I'm just going to call at one point, and probably in some ways still is, Diddy's one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, bar none. And being associated with him, being linked with him, being in a relationship with him, gave you a certain level of clout and provided you a certain level of lifestyle. And unfortunately, you made choices to disregard what most would consider are very clear boundaries in order to maintain that lifestyle. And by doing so, you got into situations with him that most people, men and women, find deplorable. And now, to save face, you have now called yourself a victim. That's what I saw. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I can be wrong. And this is not me victim blaming. This is me using my logical head. I, in no way, shape, or form, and I am a woman who has dated millionaires. I've dated very powerful men with a lot of money. You know what? I will take it back. I dated men with a lot of money. I won't say they were super powerful because there's a difference. Diddy is powerful with money. I dated men with money who had lots of money, and I still kept my boundaries. Even when I was being offered allowances and $1 million homes and all of those different things, if I ever felt there was something that would go against my own boundaries, I said no every single time. Because That was more important than any money that they were going to ever give me because I had to look at myself. I had to go and talk to my daddy. Imagine having some prostituta digging me out and my man doing that and then having somebody pee on me, all that stuff, and then taking a phone call with my daddy 30 minutes later. Oh no. Mm-mm. No. No. What's like, hey daddy, hey dad, and my daddy's like, hey princess, and I just had some man pee on me? What?
Eh,
Boundaries.
a little bit of soap and water can fix that. You know, that ain't nothing.
Hey, daddy. I said, hey, dad. As the prostitute is cleaning up and stuff and leaving the room. Okay, I'm like, hey, daddy. How was your day, princess? Oh no, nothing. Just we're running around doing some errands. Like, I'm sorry. Like I can't. I do not. I cannot. I cannot empathize. I cannot sympathize. I am going to call a spade a spade. These are grown people making grown people decisions. And unfortunately, those decisions have backfired on them. Well, not on Cassie. She got $30 million, but Jane definitely, and some of the others, it unfortunately backfired on them because if they wanted Diddy in jail, they would have made different decisions. Because I'm sorry, there's no way someone is assaulting me and I'm just going to let him go. Because the issue is, it's not just about me, it's about the future victim. It is about the fact that it is important that I do what I need to do, not only to protect myself, but protect any potential future victim. So don't call yourself a victim to me when your entire interest was self interest, when your entire interest was how much money, how much fame, how much popularity, having your bills taken care of. That was what was in it for you. And now you want to put yourself in victim shoes who are real victims. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't do it. Can't do it. Respect your boundaries. And here's the thing. And here's the thing. It's the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to let you guys jump in. And you gentlemen, tell me if I'm wrong. If you see that a woman is willing to step across lines of her own boundaries, are you going to pull those boundaries back? So she says to you, you know what, Jeff, I don't do that. And somehow, some way, you convince her, you know what, I'm gonna be the other women. You manipulate her, okay, I'm gonna be like other women. You manipulate her to cross that boundary line. Are you responsible for pulling her back? Or is she
No,
responsible for not have crossed that boundary in the first place?
that's on her.
I don't think it's rocket
This
science. We like
this
twins. Go ahead.
this hmm, Cassie, take us back probably 3 seasons ago when we started talking about body count, right? Um, this is exactly the fear that most men may have. You know what I'm saying? It's not that we want to know, right? We just want to make sure you're not a Cassie. Like that's
Oh
the new thing.
no.
Like, you know
Mm,
what I'm saying? We don't like. Well, I say this: what we don't know doesn't hurt us. For me, outside looking in, I believe that Cassie was the main character in this whole scenario. She got in with Diddy, lucky for her, got the $1 million man, XYZ. She rode out with him for 10 years, didn't get married. Not sure she wanted to get married, but she rode out 10 plus years with him. It didn't end good, apparently, right? She ended up getting the bag, $30 million. But what I think is so weird to me, and I'm probably the only person who's going to talk about it, is that it's funny to me how she got 3 kids by her new dude that quick. 3 kids.
Speaking
I mean, I'm like, no one see this? Like she left Puff after 10 plus years. You figure that type of, AKA trauma that she had, right? With him plus years. She might would have taken a break, become a nun, cleanse herself, get her life together, get her mental together. There's a lot of crazy shit that she had went through. She might have liked it, right? Whatever case may be, but that's a lot to go through. But to turn around, to jump into another relationship, one, cheated on you, dude. Even though Puff was messing with everybody, but whatever. When you're a millionaire and you got this resources, you can do what the hell you want. So she knew what it was. So anyway, she eventually leaves Puff by cheating on him with the dude that he paid for, and then pop up with 3 kids. That's crazy to me. And reason why I say that's crazy because it seems strategic. So now, if her dude want to divorce her, she got 3 kids by a dude. So on top of having 30 million cushion, whatever money he got, she gonna get that too. I'm just outside looking in, but that shit looks so crazy to me, and it's like, what Chris Brown said: "These hoes ain't loyal." Go ahead.
But I'm just gonna put up my hand before Jeff jumps in, and I want to bolster your point a bit. So again, she was with Diddy as a victim of an abusive relationship for 10 years. That relationship ended in August of 2018.
Okay.
So remember that date, August of 2018.
Okay.
And she got married to Alex Fine on August 28th of 2019.
Not even a full year.
wow.
So within a year, she got married, and this is where I put my psychology hat back on for the purposes of this show. For those of you who might be triggered or upset or whatever by what Twins have said, I have said, or anything Jeff has agreed to, let me be clear. When you experience that level of trauma, because that is what we're saying, right? We're saying that she had a level of trauma, and you are forced to do things like give your body unwillingly to numerous people that are not the men you have committed to. Once you have left that relationship, and Jeff, you can talk about it because you've said that you've dealt with people who've been in these potential abusive situations. It is very difficult for you to form intimate relationships with other people right after that because there is the trust factor that is now gone. Because remember, what we're saying is someone I have trusted has broken that trust by making me and forcing me to commit heinous acts. I think we can all call the fact that she was forced to have sex, whether she had a yeast infection or if she was on her cycle or any of that, or till it hurt, or the fact that again he abused her for not finishing a free call. We're gonna deem those as heinous acts. It then becomes difficult if you are programmed, because that's what people are going to say is programming. After a decade, 3,650 plus days of this type of trauma, for you to then turn around and form an intimate enough relationship with someone to become their wife generally doesn't happen because again you went through 3,650 plus days of trauma, but somehow within 365 days you have been able to heal yourself from that trauma, the drug abuse, to then form a very intimate relationship with someone that then produces children. You guys don't have to believe me, but go do the research. It takes many years for women who have actually been abused to be able to then form those bonds, because that requires trust. And if the person you trusted with your mind, body, and soul let you down, you're not easily turning around and trusting someone else. But I'd love to hear Jeff's thoughts on that, because again, my psychologist view was 20 years ago. Maybe things have changed. Jeff.
I think one major problem that we started this thing off is I believe the whole situation was just toxic, period. And just going back to the point that you said earlier, Toshiba, the example you gave, like about the boundaries, like, well, I don't do this, and then but I somehow coerce you to, you know, let your guard down and you cross that boundary anyway. Who's to say that Cassie was with the smoke the whole time? Like Diddy might have presented these scenarios to her. Hey, baby, what about you doing X, Y, and Z, da 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 da? And she looking at it like, well, I don't usually, I'm just trying to I'm trying to be an artist. I'm trying to get a deal. And she tried it one time, but the whole time she probably was like the undercover freak, as we used to say back in the days. This probably was like right up her alley. Because I mean, like I said, what really raised my eyebrow when I heard about the book that was supposed to be coming out. I was like, oh, think about it. You've been with this person for what? It was like 10 or 11 years together. All of these
Mhm.
freak offs, the abuse, the this, and that, and then we see the video, and it's like, oh, how could he do that to her? And it's like, it's so she played a major part. I don't know. I think we should just sometimes assess the situation as opposed to most times like, okay, when this situation like, oh, what did he do? What did such and such? Well, he forced her into that, and he made no, it wasn't Stockholm syndrome. I tend to lean toward like maybe she had this in her the whole time. That's just my thought.
And no, and listen, and you're free to have that thought, just as people are also free to call it Stockholm syndrome, and people are free to call her victim. People are also free to disagree with that, and we don't have to get mad at everybody on the internet, and we don't have to go off on people. We can have again a reasonable conversation using logic. As a woman, as a mother, I could not imagine myself or my daughter or any of my friends having to endure any of the things that came out during this trial. I could not imagine it. However, I will say that any situation I have found myself in romantically, relationship wise, I always had a choice in the matter. And if I engage in that behavior, it's because I made that choice. I don't drink. I am not a regular drinker. If I have 10 drinks, 20 drinks a year, like that's a lot of drinks for me in 365 days. And I don't do drugs. But if some man I'm dating, some athlete I'm dating is like, hey, babe, we're going out for a night on the town, we're going to this party, and here is some Patron and X pill, and I take it from him, and I said, babe, I don't do drugs. He's like, babe, do it for me. Do it for me. We're going to have a great night. I have two choices in that matter. Want to say thanks, but no thanks. I don't do drugs, and I don't really drink, and I'm definitely not doing both of them together. So we can go to this party together, but I really don't want to engage. I'm high off life. Or I can say, okay, babe, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take the pill, and I'm gonna take this vodka, and I'm gonna down it. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna do the most. I had a choice, and if either one of my choices turns into a bad situation for me, I do not care what anybody says. My man is not responsible because the next choice I had was to get out. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go home. You do what you're gonna do. I'm out. I don't even want to go to the club. I don't, because if this is what's going to be going on there, I don't want to be a part of it. Not my scene. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. But you do you. You do you. That's your thing. That is also a choice that I can make, and that choice also has a consequence. That choice might mean I lose my basketball boyfriend, and I lose my basketball boyfriend lifestyle, and I lose my basketball boyfriend influence. But it's still a choice I can make. But if I make the other two choices in the scenario, what happens? So it's one thing, again, when I make choice over here, oh my God, good on you, girl. Good on you. You leave that man. That man didn't mean you no good. Blah, blah, blah. You know, you can find you a next one. But if I make the other two choices, which were also, again, my choices, and a bad thing happens, it's, girl, oh my God, I can't believe that man made you do that. I don't see the logic in that because they were all choices that I made. They were all available to me. But again, most women in that scenario aren't making my choice over here. Why? The power, the money, the influence, the money, the lifestyle, the money. Because there's only so many Diddies in the world. There's only so many basketball players and football players and musicians and all of those men who can give us the lifestyle and CEOs and so ever. So let's be clear. And this is my last thing just before you jump in. Let's be clear. A lot of women in those situations, I'm going to take it away from Cassie and Daphne Joy. A lot of women in those situations make these choices because they understand that in that world, they are consistently competing for that man. And if they don't do it, the other hoe will. That is the end.
Facts. I agree. It kind of goes back to what Twin said earlier. You know, if you come from eating hamburger helper, now you introduce the steaks every day, you might want to. It's gonna be hard to go back to the hamburger helper, and that pride is like I had steak, so it's like every day, all the time, the lavish lifestyles, and like you said, Toshiba, I know if I don't do it, it's a line of women waiting to take my spot, and I'm gonna hold on to this spot, whatever it takes, come hell or high water, and yeah, and it goes back to what you said. It's choices. She had the choice to be like, nah, this ain't it for me. Swallow that pride and go back to whatever she was doing before she met him or was trying to get in the industry, or suck it up, no pun intended, and and roll with the punches. So yeah, it's the choices and those boundaries that you set. You know, like you said, even with, like you said with the basketball, man, I'm gonna lose this basketball lifestyle and all this come with it. And like I said, if I move out of the way, it's somebody dang about to push me out of the spot now.
Right there. Right
So
there.
yeah,
Right there.
but
And
yeah, but
go ahead, Jeff.
no, go ahead. But again, I just refuse from the jump to see her as a victim, even when this before this all first started. I just didn't see victim on it.
What I
Twin.
what I've learned over my lifestyle, my lifetime, what I've learned, and this is stepping away from Diddy. At the end of the day, women will do anything for the man they want, and
We
so there's
will.
women out there who will never touch the money that Cassie may touch, but done just as bad things that she has did. Maybe on not high of a level. But I know females who did crazy things with dudes who may not been the richest dude, might been the flies dude, might be the dope boy, my XYZ.
Yep.
So it really, I mean, yes, the money does play a role with it with Puff, because maybe because you have money doesn't mean you're that guy. There's a lot of lame millionaires out there. Right? But the point I'm trying to make is this ain't nothing new. I know plenty of stories about females doing off the wall stuff for dudes who even millionaires, right? But if the average Joe asks them to do it, they're like, "Nah, I don't do that." But when you mess with the athlete, the top basketball player in high school, or the dope boy, you was doing whatever. Like at the end of the day, yes, women, you have to compete for the man that you want, right? But you need to have boundaries. You should have a lot of self-respect for yourself at the end of the day. You should think about one day I'm gonna be a mother. And by me being a mother, do you want to be a grandmother or a mother that your kids being picked on in school because when you was in your young hot days, and it's public record now, you had dudes pissing in your mouth? Like, it's something that will never go away. That's something that's etched in the internet for life. Forever. So her kids is going to have to deal with that bullshit. Her kids going to have to go to private school. Her kids will not be able to go to no regular school. See, they will have to go to a public school, because they go in school and they find out who her mom is. And you when talking junk in lunchroom or whatever, oh yeah, your kids go home crying every day. Easy. You know, I got to use the bathroom, man. Where your mom at? Man, I got to pee, man. You know, like the joke's gonna be on. And you play sports. You playing sports, you know, says, man, listen. Anyway, the actions that you do now, you gotta think about in the future, because it will follow you. Just remember that. And like I said, that's why I said it's weird that she got married, quit, and had kids. Granted, she probably was with him during a long period of time while she's still with Diddy, right? So she had time to get that kind of bond there. She might have confided in him, whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is that no. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she got pregnant quick, and she had 3 kids. So good luck to that man, because I know his mental's fucked up. So I'm sure he's gonna see him a psychiatrist or whatever, somebody. I give them 2 years, maybe 3 years from now, but they'll be divorced soon.
Yeah, that would be tough. That would I actually, I was supposed to end the show, but I'm actually going to ask both of you this, as men who are married and have been married. If you were to find out that your wife lied about an intimate encounter with her ex-boyfriend, saying that he had essayed her, but in reality she had willingly went and had relations with him, how would you feel?
Yeah, that would be a done deal. Reason why I said, because before finding out that, you know, she was having another relationship with dude, if my girl were to tell me right now that somebody assaulted her, as my daughter or anybody like I know close to, I'm ready to go and handle that. And then if I handle that, then if my life is done, right? But come to find out, you signed up for this bullshit. You've been doing this for XYZ. When I thought you was done with him, you was still messing with him. Man, these hoes ain't loyal. Sorry. The social media is making it so hard for the ladies to have healthy, good relationship. Because y'all keep playing in men's face, and it's not even the guys my age in the 40 club. These young boys are watching social media. These young boys are paying attention. They seen what happened with Michael B. Jordan. They seen what happened with Will Smith. Now they're hearing what's happening to Diddy now in XYZ. These girls, I'll never have Michael B. Jordan money. I'll never have Puff money. I'll never have Will Smith money. You know, I could lottery it can happen, but hey, if it do, I'll take it. You know, I'll take the millions. But the pump time make is that they have their status and see that they struggle in the love category, how am I supposed to compete with that? You know what I'm saying? If the man, Michael B. Jordan was what, the sexiest man of 1 year, right? How can I compete with that? And he got a woman who played him in XYZ. Yeah, it's a cold world out here. Man, go out there and get your woman from out of the country.
Oh no.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah, go. Yeah, because these girls here in America, they ain't it. I mean, you just keep watching social media and TV. You don't listen to Twin. Just watch the news. There'll be another female, another scandal letter. Just watch the news. Don't trust me. Don't listen to Twin. Just watch the news. Watch social media. You heard in a few months from now, will be another woman, another scandal, XYZ.
Technically, I'm out of the country, so I'm good. But Jeff, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, I'm out of the country, so I'm in Canada.
That's what I said. Let's get you a woman who's out of the country.
I'm in Canada,
I mean,
so
they different.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get ready to drop down. I totally agree with Twin. It's like, if we've had this conversation, or if you brought this to my attention, I asked you about it, and it's like, no, this is actually what happened. I was an essay, blah, 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 and then comes to find out, like, oh, this was you was into the whole time. No, it's a wrap. And it makes me think about with Megan and Tori, and she was dating this writer, partisan fun.
Party, yeah.
And so for her to go on Gail and was like, I knew she was lying. Because I used to be correction officer and I used to do interrogation. I could read body language. I'm like, she lying. And when Gail asked about it, and then after the fact, and I think he wrote in a song, like, I had to find out with the rest of the world that you lied. You actually was doing this guy on a regular, but you get the alligator tears on national TV and you lied. And so it's like, and again, like you said, like Twin said, these youngsters are watching. My son will turn 18 on Monday. And it's like, dude, man, the dating, I was like, man, it's crazy for a guy his age to, what do they do? How's it hard?
Focus on your
right. That's what I tell them, man, because like, man, they raising them up to be thoughts from preschool. So it's like, bro, just yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm finna get ready to jump down.
Yep.
And I just said, season 8, I'm gonna try to come on more and put my input in. I love to see it grow.
Yes.
So yeah, y'all have a good.
Thank you so much. You too, Jeff. Thank you so much. I wasn't supposed to find that so funny, but I did. He said they growing them up from toddlers. God damn. Yeah, but we're gonna wrap this up. Go ahead.
They're chasing NBA players. They chasing NFL players. You just can't hide. You can't run from it. So I have my dating tip. So whenever you're ready,
go ahead, dating tip.
My dating tip is for both men and women. So first part of it, ladies, focus on yourself. Focus on getting your own bag. Focus on not having to do things to survive. Yes, you want you a man who's a provider and take care of you, but not to a point where it's going to go against your livelihood or your integrity. Like, that's integrity. You don't want to be with a guy that's going to have you sleep with multiple men at one time. You don't want to be with a man that's going to have somebody piss in your mouth. You don't want men clearly Puff didn't see you as a husband, and because he never married you. And he even said it when Tamika died, or his name Tamika, the one that passed away.
Kim died.
Kim Porter died. Yeah, Tamika. Kim Porter. He said, that's the love of my life.
Yeah,
and you was in your feelings when you said that. Yeah, because he didn't see you as that. And then fellas, focus on you, my brother. Don't chase the woman, chase the bag. Focus on your career, your craft. Once you get to that point, you'll be able to pick and choose what you want to do. But also, once you do get that level of whatever you at, don't be like Puff. Don't be like R. Kelly. Don't tarnish your legacy, because at the end of the day, Puff, R. Kelly, all them, they worked hard to get to that point.
Mhm.
And just like that, they ruined their legacy. They'll still have a
Everything.
legacy, but there'll be that ass shit. Like, oh yeah, but he was peeing on girls, or he was, you know what I mean? That's always going to be on the back of their resume. So don't mess up your legacy. If you're a man, you know your legacy is important. That's why you have kids. Focus on your bag. Focus on yourself to be a better man and be a better example. I'm done.
I love it. I love it. My dating advice is to the ladies: get boundaries and stick with them. You can never go back after you have broken a boundary with a man. There's no going back. So if you decide that you're going to break that boundary, be ready for the repercussions and consequences of that choice. Of that choice. Um, I think boundaries are important. I think setting boundaries are important. And guess what? Yes, there might be 10 other women that are waiting for you to mess up and not do what that man wants you to do. But is that worth your long term mental health? Do not do anything that once it's done, you can't look at yourself in the mirror with the same level of respect that you did before you did that. And going back to my scenario, do not do anything that if you were to get a call from your daddy 30 minutes later, you would feel ashamed, even if your daddy don't know, that you had some man do that crap to you. And now the man responsible for bringing you into the world is now talking to you and you feel shame. That is my dating advice. Well, this was great. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, twins. Thank you, Mister, for your comments. Sorry I didn't get to put all of them on the screen. This was such an interesting conversation, and I'm going to leave it off again. Listen, if you're watching this in the replay and you've gotten this far, again, we are a show that if you're new to this, we are not. We're true to this. We, even me as a woman, and I can be emotional. I'm a very emotional. I'm a woman. I have estrogen. Can be very emotional, but I think in order to be a well-rounded individual in this world, in order to be able to be a successful individual in this world, you will need to know how to separate emotions and logic. You will need to know how to look at the facts that are presented to you, not facts from other places that you bring with those facts. The facts that are being presented to you and make an informed decision. Two things can be right. You can think someone is a bad person, but also come to an conclusion based on the facts presented that they are not guilty of what they have been accused of. So we appreciate you. Subscribe, share, like, send this. We are growing and we need more participation. I want to do another big shout out to Jeff. I am changing the conversation around Black relationships. Twins is changing the conversation around Black relationships, and we want you to be a part of this change because we need it. Have a good night. Thank you. Goodbye.